Right off the bat. I still, 6 years, I'm still picking on New York.
But why doesn't it say it on the overhead like it
Except I
used
have
to?
Zoom on mute still.
Oh, so no, okay. Thank you. I panicked for a minute.
I'm gonna start jazz and it's gonna change that screen.
Yeah.
Why do I hear that?
I think it's on. Is it on Mark's computer? Somebody else did.
The mic for next.
Yes, we can,
Get turned off.
The same way.
Let's see. Negative, there you go.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There you go. Feedback on something.
Okay, ready.
Why do we hear that?
So this is. Never.
These are the ones, right?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, there you go.
You can search that out.
Good evening. Welcome to the study session, February 13th, 2024. Donna, will you do a roll call, please?
I will. Councilmember Blush.
Here.
Councilmember Sherman. Here. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Here.
Marinesco.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schmidt.
Here.
Councilmember Stearns. And Councilmember Gilmore.
There.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Okay, tonight's study session, Police Chief Chris Costad has a presentation for us about public safety.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this evening. Excuse me while I'm trying to do two things at once here. I think it's been quite a while since the police department has had an opportunity to come before council and explain the inner workings of the department, what programs we have going on. And just having a good open dialogue and communication with you. So again, I appreciate the opportunity and I hope that you get some more understanding from the police officer or more understanding of the police department, and any questions you have, just let me know. Okay. Is that going to be the best it's going to get with the, okay. All right, just making sure. Okay, so we'll start out with the mission of the Shelton Police Department. The mission of the Shelton Police is department is to provide excellent service and protection through leadership and partnership with the community. And when it comes to this mission statement, I want to focus on the word partnership. That's something that myself and Captain Patton have talked a lot about in the last few months about how we want the direction of this police department to go. We always feel we can do better in certain areas, but I think we can really improve on our partnership with this community and the council, and just have better conversations and get to know each other better and understand what is best for the city and how we want to go about that.
This is how we sleep and all of that.
Oh, are you doing that? Oh, I thought I was doing it.
That's funny.
Okay, the next one, please. Department structure here. Okay, so this is what we call our chain of command chart. We start with me at the head of being the CEO of the department, and then we have a Captain Patton from him, it filters down to the records and evidence clerks. And then we have 4 sergeants, 2 day shift and 2 night shifts. Our detectives, and then our corporals actually come in just below our sergeants now, between our patrol officers, and then we have our patrol officers. As you know too, myself and Captain Patton are primarily administrative, but our sergeants, they also have some other duties assigned to them that I'll get to in a second. Next slide. So it said, right now we are funded for 21 total. We have 19 sworn positions and 2 civil employees. Again, starts with me and the captain, which are administrative positions. We have our 4 sergeants that have different roles within the department. Primarily, they're going to be out on patrol, supervising the patrol officers. But we have patrol sergeants who are firearms instructors, who coordinate the FTO program, who are canine instructor or canine officers. So it's kind of with the size of our department, everyone has to kind of take on another bite of something, especially when you start to promote through the ranks. We just don't have the capabilities of personnel to have a dedicated firearm officer, dedicated FTO trainer, or anything like that. Everyone has to take on multiple hats through the department, but I think with that opportunity, there's a lot of opportunity to grow for our officers as well, and they're very anxious to take on more duties as they progress. And then we come down to our 2 corporals. Both of our corporals that just recently got promoted are field training officers, and one is a taser trainer, I believe. And the other one is a lesson we build pepper ball trainer. So again, as you move up, you gain more responsibilities. But I think that creates a lot of ownership within the department, and it gives them opportunities to learn something new and do something else. Then we go down to our patrol officer level. I'm sorry, our detectives is next. We have 2 of those assigned. Those are full-time detectives. They generally here Monday through Fridays, but they're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they can be directed at any time, anywhere to go wherever it is. They also belong to a KCERT team, which is the Kitsap County Incident Response Team. That's basically our shoot team. We've been part of KCERT now for approximately 3 years. I want to say 3 or 4 years. It's a group made of most agencies in Kitsap County. It's Kitsap County Sheriff's, Bremerton, Port Orchard, Washington State Patrol. There's a few more in there anyways. So what happens is we're all part of this task force or team now. And if they have an officer involved shooting in Bremerton, they will call us as well, and we will go out and help investigate that incident. Both of our detectives, Captain Patton and myself, are part of that team as well. And we look forward in the future, hopefully getting some of our officers on board that well. It's not only designated for officer involved shootings, it's also for uses of force incidents where we have a serious injury involving the suspect, or we have an in custody death, say somebody expires in the back of a patrol car, or we have our temporary holding cells in the PD. So that's where we would call the CASER out, and they would do an investigation. One of the most important things about the CASER program is that we can't investigate it ourselves. This is all about transparency. So someone else is going to investigate it. So if we were involved in an incident, other agencies from CASER would come, but we would not be involved with the investigation, same as vice versa. We had one in Bremerton, actually involved Bremerton, Tacoma, and I believe Kitsap County Sheriff's Department a few months ago. And they were scrambling because you just knocked out two of the three agencies involved in CASER to even investigate that, because you can't investigate your own incidents. So sometimes that was kind of a rare occasion, but it did come up. So something to be mindful of. And then our last line is our two evidence and records clerk who man the front office and also coordinate all the evidence in the back room. Next slide, please.
I have a question.
Sure.
So the corporals, are they on patrol as well?
Yes, they are.
Are they part of the 8 or they're
They are part of the eight.
part of the 8?
And actually, I apologize. Eight currently is our patrol officers. Two of them are in the academy. Technically, actually, one just graduated from the academy this morning, so you'll see him next week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so myself and Pat were there this morning. And we still have two open police officer positions that we're still trying to get filled, which is not as easy as it seems sometimes. And then we have one school resource officer position, which is vacant at this as well. We don't anticipate being able to fill that. Maybe the latter part of the year. We're still waiting on the school board to make their decisions on their budget.
The school district still has some interest in the school resource officer. We haven't been able to provide that individual to fill that position. They did not budget it for this existing school year. They'll start their budget process sometime, I think in March, actually next month, because they adopt a budget in July. If we're not able to commit to that resource officer being available, they won't budget accordingly. And so at this point, we wouldn't make that commitment.
So they're fully funded by the school?
It's about 75%.
I think it was fully funded in the past by the school.
Needs to get that figured out. Specifically, I was working at Belmont. And so it's kind of far like behind my van, so on here. He's walking and he's got a backpack in his hands. Like, oh, then you see the two kids doing a walk of shame out of bushes over there, and they come out. And the kid was drunk, and they tried to contact his parents. And they sat there with him for a while and talked. Then they said, "What do you do?" You know what I mean? There's no parent to call. There's nowhere for the person to go. Well, the school resource officer, this way you can have a little bit more accountability. I think with them working in school,
The school resource officers are awesome because they get to know the kids by name and face, and they know exactly, who they are and where they need to go, where they belong and everything like that. So they're an invaluable resource when we have them in place. Unfortunately, due to our staffing right now, we're still two officers shy for our patrol officer level. It's hard to fill that position before we get the city where it needs to be.
my challenge the same way.
It's everywhere. Yep.
One more similar question, detectives, are they always detecting or are they actually on patrol at times?
Sometimes they fill in for patrol due to our staffing levels and sometimes things happen. They have to go out for a few hours and cover patrol. Generally, they're mostly running their investigations, but from time to time they do have to help patrol.
Thank you.
Do you want to blast through and then take questions? I don't want to stall you out on like slide 2 here.
However you guys.
Oh, no problem. So, to George's point there, we got to figure this out. So we need some more information here. So how do you determine your staffing levels?
That's just preset the budget for, are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, how do you know you need?
Yeah,
how do you know you
our
need
minimum
How do you-
staffing levels are set in CBA for 2 officers per shift.
Yeah.
So that's where we're sitting at right now. The unfortunate part with that is if we have a major incident.
Yeah.
Can't do much with 2 officers. You can barely shut down two sides of the road, so and then we still have to investigate it. So if something like that happens, we literally have to pull in our department to help with these investigations, and also the sheriff's department, WSP, whoever we can get.
Totally. Maybe by the way I asked the question. So WASPIC published a report. And they often refer to the officer per capita ratio, 1.36 officers per 1,000 people or whatever. So Shelton, we're 1.9, so we're higher, right? Roughly, very correct with my math, roughly on that for.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending
So,
on population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, so I guess, is that how you know, so when you say I got 8 on patrol, is that enough?
No,
Right, so how do you know what's enough? Like, what's the goal? Where do you kind of?
I would-
First of all, our shifts, right? So we're running 12-hour shifts, right?
Mhm.
So you have 2 graveyard shifts, 2 swing shifts, and 2 day shifts.
correct.
Please don't let me speak for
Yeah.
you, gentlemen.
So normally there's no set standard on what staffing is going to be. And I know this because I just did a master's class on this
Yeah.
exactly. So it's normally budget based or historical based. Or needs based on the plans that the departments want to put in place of what they want to see accomplished and strategic goals. So historically, we've always been at 20.5 or 21 FTEs for the last maybe 5 years or so. A lot of that is budget based. This year, it's just we're a lot lower because we can't get that recruitment in. Right now, we're sitting with their 19. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel. And so this is the very first year that we took our corporals and put them into a swing shift situation to balance that staffing. So now if we have someone calling in sick and we have a minimum staffing of 2, since that corporal is kind of covering both sides of a day shift and a night shift, our overtime costs are a lot lower. We saw significant savings in January, so.
Yeah, I think for us, it's, I'm thinking like MACECOM, we said. We determined based on call volume, based on user input, it's like 17 FTEs is what we need. Obviously, we don't have 17 FTEs, there's 12, right? And so for us, it's like when you talk about budget base, we've obviously given a lot of complaints from the public about wanting more cops, and it's like, okay, we have a finite budget and we have to prioritize the budget. So it's kind of would be good. I know you're working within your needs. I respect that, appreciate it, but where do we need to be, right? So how can we start posturing the budget to get you there, right? And it's just part of that discussion. So I'm just kind of curious, like how you kind of arrive there. Is it like call volume data and, obviously, I don't know. I just want to try to figure out how to prioritize the need, I guess.
And then out of the 2 per shift, who's taking these prisoners from Squally?
They're not. So it's either we get to, we're lucky enough get to book them in Mason County Jail, or we're calling somebody in on overtime to transport, or we're letting them go.
Councilmember Shaw, I think that's really what you're getting to, right? We've set a little service standard.
Yeah.
But it's based on minimum staffing. It's not necessarily based on our aspirational staffing, it's
Right.
based on minimum staffing. We don't want to go below 2 officers on shift at any one time.
Yeah.
But with leave, whether it's sick leave, leave, shift differential, shift, different shifts, it's really difficult to staff all of those shifts at the 19s right now.
Yeah.
If we had more, you have more flexibility. It reduces overtime, right, gentlemen, first and foremost, and then we could look at adding a 3rd patrol officer potentially, and then you're making those transports. Or some of the other services that may be provided.
Just a quick, you're 1.36 per 1,000. That's probably the second to the lowest ratio
Yeah.
in the United States. Mid-Atlantic states are typically about 1.9, 2.0, so we're already kind of getting involved.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I'm just trying to figure out where we need to be, and how do we get there?
And to tell you the truth, at least in my time here, these 2 gentlemen might have a different perspective, but we haven't sat down and analyzed that. We haven't sat down, looked at specific call volume in my time and said, if we had 45 calls in the day shift last week, and so basically there was no proactive policing. It was all response.
Yeah.
And we haven't looked at that over a period of time in the last year or so. They'll talk about call volumes here in a minute and be able talk about that a little more specifically, but that's something we haven't done and we need to do, particularly as we start formulating the 2025 budget.
Because if we're interested in something like a public safety sales tax measure, having that background data where we need, what those dollars are gonna be appropriated for and how we're gonna get there is gonna be important, so. Thanks. Go ahead.
Recruitment and retention, there's first of all, I'm gonna explain this photo. That's Sergeant DeRoche, and that's Officer Blaylock, apparently in the middle of identity crisis, hanging onto the back of the fire truck. So it just illustrates the problems we have sometimes on retaining people who never know which ways they're gonna wanna go. Many challenges, though. Obviously, the current environment for law enforcement isn't very friendly, and people become very skeptical and shy of entering into this field anymore. I mean, you're always seeing how we're involved in some uses of force that are getting highly politicized and all over the news. No one wants to be part of that. So I think people are looking at that and going, maybe that's not the best avenue of road I want to go down. I mean, like I say, I'll die for you, but I won't go to jail for you. And that makes perfect sense. I mean, we don't want to get arrested doing our jobs, and that's an unfortunate kind of status of how we think about that sometimes. Also, our staffing issues, along with most other agencies, it's really hard to find individuals, qualified individuals who want to be a police officer. We've been at below minimal for at least a couple of years now. I think we got up to for about maybe 2 weeks last year, man. I think we were at full staff, and then some things happen. Some people leave, some people didn't make it through FTO, and that just kind of changes the whole thing. But this is not something that's just unique to us. That's across everywhere. Everyone's fighting for candidates for their agencies. And there's two types of candidates. There's entry level and there's lateral. The entry level are the people who have no experience, and that you're gonna have to put through academy, and there's considerations to take place when you're hiring somebody that's entry level, because that's basically gonna take you, once you get through your hiring phase, you get them into the police academy for 5 months, and then you get them out on FTO. You're looking about a year investment into that one person until they can be out on their own. So that's a huge commitment to put towards one person. So you really want to make sure you grab the right individual there. And sometimes it always doesn't work out. But that's across the board, because the other type of candidates we have are laterals, and those are people that have already been for the police academy and been successful with their agencies through the FTO program. And then you can pick those individuals up straight and bring them straight over your department. They don't obviously have to go to academy or any more training. But those are very few and far between now. There's a huge fight for laterals out there. Everyone with their hiring bonuses and everything. Algona, California, $75,000 hiring bonus.
I think it's Alameda.
Alameda, California. So and that's fairly typical.
That's pretty rich area. I think they got
Yeah.
a horse track there and, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, so we see a lot of about 25,000 or so in this area, but so that's another thing you're competing with, is people are, looking for the best deal for them.
And you get laterals from other states?
Yes, we can. They have to go to an equivalency academy, which is 2 weeks long up at CJTC, but that's great as well. It's hard sometimes being a transplant, and I am one. I came from California and then I came up here. So it's different laws, a different way of doing things, but the base job is the same. But it's just, sometimes they have trouble coming in and figuring things out a little bit, or it might take longer. But we've had some very good results with our last one, which was Officer Portillo out of Nevada. He did excellent. We're pulling out. So also the entry levels go through public safety testing, which the city subscribes to. And that's where we get the names for our entry levels. They go through a written exercise and a physical agility test, and they get their names on the list. They were given their scores, and then we can interview them from there, and then throw them into a hiring process, which consists of, an interview, background investigation, a polygraph, psych, and a medical evaluation. A lot of departments can kind of get hung up with that, and it can take maybe 6 months to get hired on a department. We're actually pretty good here, and we can probably get done with about a month and a half or two. So we can, once we get a really good applicant, we probably can get them on within about 2 months. So we've got a really, we're smaller. His office is right next to mine. We can coordinate a lot easier. I don't have to send emails and wait a week for a response or anything like that. We can just get people going, which is nice.
So it takes you, sorry, you said it takes about a year to 15 months after you offer the job to, they're on their own.
Correct. Yeah,
Basically, that's been typical then
Yeah.
for a long time. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And now with everyone going to the academy as well, they're pushing a lot of people to academy. It's hard to get academy dates right off the bat. So sometimes you're waiting for 2 to 3 months just to get that application into the academy. So it's not right off the bat. You could be waiting for a little while.
Yeah.
Officer Houston was actually on board for a couple months before he entered the academy,
I think
working in the office.
He was about 3 months in the office before we got him into the academy. And we even had him set up with the academy prior to we even hired him, anticipating his hire. I got him on the list. But still, he was in our office for 3 months. But it was a great learning tool for him. He did reports, he wrote with officers, he worked with the records and evidence clerks. So he did learn a lot about our department, which helps now because now he just graduated from the academy. Now his onboarding, the transition's a lot better. He's all familiar with everybody. It's not a foreign environment. So he can progress a lot faster.
What is the age minimum?
21.
so that's a good fact to kind of think about. So if we find the revenue through a ballot measure in 2024, it applies in 2025, we can budget the revenue. Then you can go hire your, theoretically, if everything's perfect, you go hire 4 more people, entry level. It's gonna take at least a year, so 2026, 2027.
And,
Things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
How long is
And-
the academy?
About 5 months long.
and we currently have a public safety tax, but it's minimal. And if the county were to go out after the same public safety tax, we would get quite a bit more. Do we?
We'd receive 40%. 40% would be distributed amongst the municipalities within the counties. The city's only municipality receive 40% of the total collection at that point. Yeah.
It'd be
There's-
significant.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure what it is. I think there's that calculation was done at some point in the past. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's some legislation now in the legislature that would make it councilmatic. Yeah, rather than voter approved. And then if the county did not select to impose that public safety sales tax, then the cities within that county would be able to impose that councilmatically, but I'm not sure the status of that bill at this point.
In lieu of signing bonuses, what are other recruitment and retention measures that the city can adopt?
One thing we're doing with our department is we're giving our officers training opportunities that it's kind of like choose your own adventure, as long as the department has a need for that particular function, whatever that might be, they would turn in a proposal for this type of training activity and say, this is how it can benefit the department, and we can give those. If we find it feasible, we try and give those opportunities to them to kind of choose their own career paths, and we help facilitate that for them. So bigger departments, a lot of times you don't get that. You just know you're going to be on patrol for this long. You're not going to get these opportunities till you've been here this long or you've achieved this or anything like that. But we can give some of those opportunities fairly early in their career. Another opportunity that we're offering right now is K-Cert, which I talked about earlier. That was only open to the chief, captain, and detectives. But we're also able to add officers to that list as well. So we're kind of throwing that out there to as well. If they want to be a part of that K-Cert team, they could start learning, get involved with these bigger investigations, getting ready to maybe go detectives or just for their own personal well-being and knowledge for their position. So
Some municipalities have done below market rate housing for their city employees. Is that something that the police force would be positive to, or
We would not
or not?
be eligible for that
We wouldn't be eligible.
at their rate of pay.
probably not, yeah.
We did institute retention.
Retention bonuses.
Bonuses with the last contract that was.
Yep. They've had 2 years of retention bonuses now. They'll get a final one. They get one every December. As long as they stay for the complete year after that, then they get to retain that.
What's the education minimum?
High school diploma for patrol officer.
How many FTO, how many people can you train on FTO at once?
Probably do, I'd say about 2, maybe 3 at most, probably 2 would probably be max. Yes. Oh, yeah.
It'd be almost impossible.
That's another.
In theory.
Yeah.
Other things are cognizant of.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get you the funding, you can do 2 at a time.
If you're able to hire.
If you're able to get 'em.
You better get them on, yeah.
Same
Training.
again, similar conundrum we had in dispatch, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can, sure, you can budget for it, you can go find them, but we can only train 1 at a time, 2 at a time, right? So it takes 6 months to get, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
It's uphill battle.
It'd be really hard to go full capacity with that just due to people's time off and they have to switch from this FTO this week to this FTO this week because someone's, sick or on vacation or things like that. So it's a huge juggling act. So
I think I asked Chief Moody, Chief Beeson, and I'll ask you now. What's your dream? I mean, how many officers would be in your world if they're perfect?
I want 4 for sure.
4 per shift. Yeah, that's the honest answer.
I
Darren only wanted 4 more officers. So,
want 4 per shift, 1 sergeant, 3 officers per shift.
well, I guess that's the same, isn't it?
That's not far.
No, it's not, no, 1 sergeant, 3 officers per shift.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Salary plus the cars.
Mhm.
Sounds like a goal.
Oh, it's canine program. We have 2 canines right now. The first canine is Canine Valor. He's partnered up with Sergeant Downs. He's 4-year-old German Shepherd. And then our second canine is Canine Lex. He's partnered with Sergeant Diaz, about 5 years old, and he's a German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois mix. Both.
Yeah.
Malinois.
I don't know.
My wife knows. Malinois, yeah. And so they're both certified in tracking, building and area searches for persons as well as articles and apprehension. Both of them certified last year. Last year they had 25 deployments last year and 11 captures. And when they deploy, it's not only just us deploying them, we also help out Mason County Sheriff's Department. We deploy out the SWAT team and other outside agencies as well. We respond out to Kitsap County and assist them if they need canines. So they're kind of all over the place. So get lots of good experience. The canine programs also has a 501c3 foundation. So that helps them with their medical, their food, and their equipment. So, and I was just talking to Sergeant Downs earlier today about how their 501c3, how their account looks. And he says it's always getting the donations. So they have adequate funding in there to take care of their canine partners.
Did you feel like 2 was enough?
I think two is plenty for the Shelton Police Department right now. Yes. It's a huge commitment on our part. They have to go to training 16 hours a month. And there's other budgetary issues involved with them as well. So I think 2 is plenty for Shelton PD right now.
Man, that's more training than you guys have.
We are only mandated for 24 hours a year and they do 16 hours a month. Mhm. But our department does do a lot more training, 24 hours a year. Our average officer gets about 100 hours of training per year. So we definitely go way.
I think considering police department's budget and the support for the K9 program, it's not in the budget, right? So if that went away, if unfortunate circumstances happen, we have a commitment to provide these K9 services at this point, and they have to be funded somehow. So it's something to just take into account. Fundraisers and public support is great. We do it with park projects, do it with all kinds of things, but at the end of the day, we made a commitment to have a responsibility to provide these services, and are we going to continue funding these if necessary? So something to consider, just something to keep in the back of your head. If the time comes when we can budget appropriately because maybe the nonprofit or fundraising doesn't meet the goals of administering the program, we'd have to supplement that to keep the program going or make some tough decisions. how we administer that program.
And at what age approximately do you retire them?
I think they are running till about 7.
They're getting pretty close on that.
Yeah,
I see. Well,
it's a lot depending on the dog too, as well, obviously, but, I think the average is around 7 years. They'd start to get tore up and beat up and hurt. Okay, I talk a lot about accreditation, and talk about a little bit. Accreditation is managed by WASPIC, that's the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. And that's basically what that is, that combines representatives from the local, state, tribal, and federal agencies, and they come in, they collaborate together and try to attempt policies and programs to enhance public safety, and accreditation is one of them. Accreditation helps increase public confidence, ensures recruitment and selection and promotional process are fair and equitable. And it also helps us decrease our susceptibility for civil litigation because it's keeping us within the best policies and practices that we can abide to. Our first accreditation was in 2018. That accreditation only accounted for 1 year of police work. So when we accredited in 2000, it was a 2018 accreditation. We only had to prove all these standards, which is 145 of them for 1 year. This last time we had to cover from 19, 20, 20, and 22. So we had to cover 4 years of standards, which is just it's a huge lift. There's a total of 78 accredited agencies in Washington state right now. That includes police departments, sheriff's departments, and jails. So it's just a huge undertaking. It starts with file maintenance, and what we have is we have a computer program. It's called I want to say Profinix. It's anyways, it's a different program. No. Anyways, there's a computer program run into a cloud, and we go through all of these standards. They're broken down into 18 chapters, 145 standards. They range on different things like goals and objectives, use of force, records management, training, evidence. And so we just have this huge lot of things we got to go through, and we have to provide proofs that we are maintaining our accreditation standards. Some of them can be fairly easy and you only have to put in a few things. Other of them, I'm downloading 15, 20 PDF documents to prove this one file. So especially when it comes to the training, because we have to prove that we're maintaining those standards all of these years, we can't miss. So once we have all these standards in place and we have them in the it's called Power DMS. Thank you. Found it. Power DMS. Once we have it all uploaded in Power DMS and we're ready to go, what we have is it's called a mock assessment, and it generally has about 5 other assessors from different departments, not our own. So they'll come from all over, and they will go in virtually. They don't even have to show up at this point in time. They go into our files. They go through them one by one, and then they're going to make notes whether we're past, where it needs work, or they're not in compliant. So that's the first step. And then we get all those results back, and then we get an opportunity for, I think it's about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how we schedule it. And we get to go back into those files and then, provide additional information to make those files complete best we can. And then they do another assessment. That's the final assessment. And then that's where they compile all their findings, and then they're going to generate a report, and they're going to forward it on to WASPIC. Also, in the midst of that, there's an on-site. So one of them will come here, they will look at our police department, they will interview officers, they will interview Captain Patton, they will interview me. And they stay for about 4 hours or so. And so that goes into their report as well. After the final assessment is done, they report it to WASPIC, and I get to go on to the commission meeting, which I did back in October. And basically, if there were any deficiencies or anything like that, or I just want to brag about how great my department was. I get my opportunity in front of the commission and talk to them about it, which I did. And then they approve us and we get our reward, which we were successful this last year. So I'm very proud of us for maintaining their accreditation standards. It was a huge feat. Everyone was involved with this. It touches everybody within the department. So I'm just very thankful that we were able to pull it off and maintain our accreditation for another 4 years.
Two things, chief, we're, makes us eligible for a grant, right?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah,
Up to
it's through
$50,000.
CJTT.
Okay.
They have about $1 million and every department that is currently accredited can apply for it. And I think the maximum per department is 50,000, but we'll just have to see how many people go after that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, and as stringent as this is, we were talking about if one officer misses one training or doesn't meet one training,
Exactly right.
it jeopardizes the accreditation. It's that stringent. So, these gentlemen in that department have to stay on task, if you will, right?
It-
Meet the accreditation
It's
standards.
something you have to keep, something you gotta keep up with on a monthly basis, or else it'll get away from you, even in these not accreditation years, you know. We don't have to prove every standard every year, but there's a handful of them that we do, but even so, we have to keep up with everything, because they're gonna ask anyways.
Yeah, and I'll just keep kind of saying it like this, but another reason why the cars will be parked from time to time, because people need to do training, we need to be off to do that, we need to be able to support that. So just because they're not out burning gas 24
Yeah.
hours a day doesn't mean they're not doing the job. So.
Absolutely correct. General statistics, I'm gonna get, later this year, I'm gonna go more over some statistics with you when I present the annual report. We're currently compiling that now. So these are just some quick statistics I was able to pull up from 2022 and 2023. As you notice, our call volume, went up about 1,200 calls over the last year, and that's basically staying at status quo, understaffed. Reports was about the same. One thing I'm deriving, I'm kind of looking at this, just kind of trying to figure out what happened and why the numbers they are the way they are. As you notice, felony arrests are down, misdemeanor arrests are down, traffic citations are down, traffic collisions are the same. What that tells me is, and I'm just, until I get further statistics, I'm not positive, but our proactivity is down due to call volume. They're responding to more calls, so they don't have the opportunity to make more of those felony arrest warrant arrests or the misdemeanor warrant arrests that usually come from traffic stops and proactivity out in the field because they're running into more calls now. So that's just something I'm kind of look at these numbers and seeing why the way they are. When I have the annual report later on this year, I'll have more information on those statistics. Okay, a few significant case laws and legislation that's gone through in the last few years. The first one I think everyone's probably heard about is the 2018 case, Martin versus Boise, which was decided in the Ninth Circuit, which affects 9 states or Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, and us. This is regarding public camping. And what they determined in this is basically if there is no option of sleeping indoors, the government cannot criminalize indigent homeless people for sleeping outdoors on public property on the false premise that they had a choice in the matter. So that directly affects our public camping or city ordinance, where we have to give them an opportunity to seek out resources to find some place to stay before we can arrest them. If we don't have someplace to put them, they are not subject to arrest. So there is a similar case coming out of Grants Pass. It's Johnson versus Grants Pass that is kind of going along the same route as this one as well. But that one actually just went up to the U.S. Supreme Court for discretionary review. So that one could have an effect on us down the road. I think Dan's been following this, and we expect maybe something in June or July to see where this one goes. So that one might really affect how we can enforce our city ordinance on this. So see. Next one is State versus Blake, felony drug possession. Let's go ahead.
The Supreme Court, they actually said they're gonna hear that case.
Not yet.
Because they
They
didn't hear, they didn't hear the
didn't
last,
say they're gonna hear it. They're gonna do a discretionary review on it right now.
because they wouldn't hear the last one that went up there on the Martin v. Boise a couple of years ago, that they wouldn't hear it.
Next, the state versus Blake, the felony drug possession law that came around in 2021. Well, basically called, it said that felony drug possession was unconstitutional. The effects of that was just horrendous. A lot of convictions were vacated, dismissed. It really caused a lot of issues, especially within the courts, not so much us. I mean, we just couldn't arrest people for it anymore, but in the later part of that year, they did do a temporary legislation, making it a misdemeanor. The problem with that legislation is that we basically had to give them 2 chances or 2 warnings prior to making a physical arrest. So when it comes to a prosecutor's point of view, we arrest somebody for this, prove to me that he's been given those chances twice. There's no state system in place that tracks that, because we don't know. I mean, we could track it locally, but we don't know what another outside agency is doing. So it just basically made it virtually impossible to track, which means we couldn't arrest anybody for misdemeanor possession of narcotics. In 2023, they did have the Blake Fist, which made, I'm sorry, I just talked about that. Let's go on to pursuits. House Bill 1024 pursuits. This one was in 2021. This one really made it hard for us to do any type of police pursuits whatsoever, because you needed probable cause to initiate a pursuit, and you only could initiate a pursuit for a violent crime, a sex crime, or a DUI. So probable cause is definition means the fact that would cause a reasonable officer to believe that the person had committed a crime. So let's take this scenario in place. If we went to a bank robbery, we had a description of the vehicle, which is whatever, a gray Chevy or whatever like that. We see a gray Chevy taken off from that bank. We don't have probable cause to stop that vehicle yet. We have reasonable suspicion to stop that vehicle, but not probable cause. So we cannot pursue. We can't pursue someone who possibly just robbed a bank. So that was the huge issue with that. And that's why you saw there was a huge uptick in vehicle thefts around that time, because they all knew it. They knew we couldn't chase them. They knew that we needed probable cause, and we only had reasonable suspicion to stop them. That's why you saw a lot of termination of pursuits and a lot of cars getting stolen back then, because the criminals knew it. And when we started being able to pursue with the House Bill or the State Bill 5352, and the reason why we could start pursuing that a little bit more is because now we can pursue for reasonable suspicion and not probable cause. So now we got back to where a little bit more, okay, we think something's wrong here, but we don't have enough to arrest you, but we have enough to detain you and investigate it. That's basically what reasonable suspicion is. And so we could start pursuing people again for reasonable suspicion. In about the same amount of crimes, there's a few more added: domestic violence, vehicular assaults, and things like that. And it was funny because when we started getting involved in a few pursuits, and we kept on pursuing them. I noted this in a county pursuit that started to come towards the city. The actual offender, he says, I didn't know you guys could chase me anymore. They expected us to give up. And so they weren't keeping up on current case law. Yeah. But it's funny, that was their mentality. They thought they could just do whatever they want.
Nonviolent property crimes are still not.
Correct. Right. Now, there's a new one coming out, and that's in 2024, it's initiative 2113, which would basically restore where we were prior to the initial 2021. So, and that we'll see how that goes. That's just something new that came about. See where we land with that one.
So it's going to the ballot, I think, isn't it, right?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Well, not all the ballots, but
Can we go into some recent accomplishments for us in the last few months? We had a successful transition. And a huge part with that was the succession planning that we got involved with prior to Chief Beason leaving. I had a lot of personal training from her and prior Chief Moody as well. They really guided me along my career path. And Captain Patton had a lot of planning too. He went to the FBI Academy. He was it 10 weeks long over there? FBI Academy graduate. He's currently in a master's program. So we're really developing ourselves and our officers. Corporal's testing was a success. We had five apply, six apply? Five apply. As you know, we've promoted two of them. We've increased supervision for the police department. Initially, we were thinking that these corporals were just going to be stagnant on a graveyard to allow for the sergeants to be away, and then we could have still a supervisor coverage. We soon realized that we could even do better than that, and we made it kind of like a hybrid type of corporal's position where they actually float. They usually come in around noon to midnight, and that means they're there for the busiest parts of the call intake for the city for the day. But they will flex to accommodate if the sergeant was not coming in the morning or coming in at night. They are agreeable to, they'll come in early, cover for that sergeant, they'll come in late, they'll cover for that sergeant. And so we saw a significant savings in overtime last month, a little bit over $5,000 just by them kind of shifting a little bit, and we're still getting better coverage for the most part through the city during the busy times. So that was a huge success. High visibility enforcement patrols. This is run through the state. We haven't done this in many years as well, but we just ran one last, it was on Super Bowl actually. We did a DUI enforcement. We get funding for that from the state. So they're going to go out and they log and document all their hours, their contacts, and then we send that off to the state, and then we're reimbursed for those costs. So we get better coverage for our city for traffic safety and DUI enforcement, and we're getting reimbursed by the state. So we just started that program up, just started our first one going this last Sunday. So I haven't got the numbers back on that, but that's where we're going with that. Internet crimes against children. This is it's also called ICAC. We entered an agreement with them. The lead agency for ICAC is Seattle PD. And, you know, some of these investigations with these child crimes, they're fairly tedious, and there's a lot of knowledge you need to know about computers and, you know, how do we get this information? How do we prove they've accessed this information? And, you know, we're not always capable of keeping up on all that, but the ICAC program will give us training, equipment, and additional personnel to help us with these type of investigations. So, and that Detective Gettle is the primary contact for Shell PD for ICAC, and I think he's doing really well with that. He's investigated numerous crimes that have gone over different throughout numerous jurisdictions and working with other police departments, and so we're on the road with that as well. So it's looking good. Last, I'm going to let Dan talk about Citizens Academy, because this was his great idea at the end of the year, saying, you know, we haven't had one in a while, so I'll let you talk about your Citizens Academy.
Yeah, I believe it's been at least 10, if not 12 years since our last Citizens Academy. This is an event that we can put on, that we can interact with the community, maybe take it a step further, and we can engage with our community members. This is no cost at all to the city. It's something that I'm able to do on my hours. It's something that I can off shifting tactics to come in. What the purpose here is in this day and age, our community members are getting their news of what the police can do off of Shelton Talks, the TV, whatever, which is grossly wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can bring these citizens in and show them everything from how our court system works, we'll have a judge coming in here, we'll have a prosecutor, we'll do a canine demonstration. We got a coroner coming in, we got a sheriff coming in, the chief will be coming in, we do this for about 8 weeks. Not only does it make them good representatives of what we do, and they can talk to their fellow citizens. It starts this engagement process, and if the city ever wants to get to a point where. We want to be co-producers, in solving problems with the community. We've identified community members that have the interest to sit here for 8 weeks, for 2 hours to listen to this. So we have a pool of people that would be probably highly interested in working with us in the future. I know a department, right before they got body cameras, not us, they engaged the community to come in and talk about their concerns with body cameras and how that policy would look like for their police department. And they actually pulled people from previous citizens academies that had gone because they seemed to be interested in what was law enforcement. And so here's a perfect example of where we can tie the community into our decision making. And it gives them a little bit of weight in the game. And it makes them feel like they are equally important in policing here in the community that we are, that we're the badges. It almost makes that an equal playing ground. And that's really where policing is going to come to in the future that we're moving towards. And so Citizens Academy is just something we can do quick, cheap, and has great results. We have only about 14 people signed up, but I'll take.
How many people can,
Can I turn in my application right
what
now?
kind of numbers are you, I mean, how many people can sign up for?
You know, I push my numbers a lot sometimes, and so I was comfortable setting the mark at 30. And this is the first one, like I said, in 10 to 12 years. We can do another one right behind it. I've talked to Officer Portillo about maybe in the future doing one completely in Spanish. So like I said, this is cheap, it's easy. This one may be 14, but the words want to get out, that's fun. And I anticipate the next one.
No, I'm being serious. I have an application.
So is that, is that process over now? Have you cut that off yet for applications, or when is that?
I've been getting them because I still have spots open. We start this Thursday at 6 PM. We've advertised it.
Oh, it just started, oh, okay, I thought it was started.
The first night is 2 nights.
Oh, okay. Okay,
And so, I got application an hour ago. I got an application sitting over there, so I will keep approving them, even in week 2 or 3, I'll approve them. And have.
and it's it's 8 weeks and you said 2 hours of,
6 PM to 8 PM on Thursdays, right here in the municipal court.
It's an application process.
It is an application process.
The terrorism.
In the past, when we look at each applicant, you know, make sure they don't have warrants. You know, some of the applicants we talked to, because we want them to have a good understanding of what they're coming here. So. Some people think it's a job.
We're hired.
Some people think it's a volunteer process, you know, some people think that it's a soapbox. And so we just want to make a good understanding of, so we don't waste their time.
They're not qualifying on firearms.
No.
I heard they were driving. Pulling a ship.
Last slide here, future programs and things we kind of have our eye on for this year. We're working with the Mason County Sheriff's Department right now to coordinate a major crimes investigation team. Which would be, you know, as I said before, when we get a major crime, a homicide, it's hard for us to keep up with that with our personnel. I mean, our D2 detectives can get completely inundated really quick with these investigations. They can be very complex. We have lots of pieces moving around the puzzle. Some people have to be, you know, go into other counties to find people, talk to people, you know, talk to victims, collect evidence. So that can be extremely difficult to do with the staffing of our size. And so we're partnering with the Mason County Sheriff's Department to form, you know, a cohesive team that would work together. We would respond to major violent felony crimes, homicides. And so if they had one out in the county, we would go out and assist them. We have one in the city. They would come assist us. We just, it's a force multiplier. They have resources that we don't have. we can get a better result out of all our investigations if we just kind of come together and work together on these investigations. So that's, we're working on an ILA right now, so I think we hit it back into their court a few weeks ago, so waiting for that to come back, see.
So ILA that we talked about, how we pay for the services back and forth. How do we- how does that-
Each agency will be responsible for their own officers, if I understood you correctly.
Oh, okay, so we sent somebody to go do something in another county, we're paying for
Yes.
that.
Well, it won't be another county, it'll be in Mason County only.
This. yeah.
Mason County only, yeah,
We
so,
have,
yeah.
we have.
it'll be
city
mutual
support For the
assistance.
county, we just, that,
Essentially,
it's time,
yeah, exactly.
but if there was. Yeah, time, got it. It would-
You'd incur your own costs for your own staff.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah, county helps us.
And with, yeah, I mean,
No, I just,
will it ever equal out? Depends on the year, right? Depends on the amount of investigations that occur.
I'm actually kind of glad it works out that way.
Yeah.
That's.
Right, at the end of the day, we might be spending more time exchanging a
Yeah.
check back and forth for the same amount of money
Yeah,
than really providing the service that's necessary for each department.
When we're looking at a wellness program for the officers. There's a reason why we get to retire at 53 is because we probably won't make it past 60. So we have to instill some better wellness programs within our people. Not only physically, but mentally, financially. There's so many aspects to this, so we're working on a policy right now for this program. And I have a few people on board that are also going to contribute as well, from the officers and sergeant levels as well. So it's going to be a cumulative effort within our department to design a program that's going to be most beneficial for all of us. So,
So that's like gym and.
and that it's everything that you can think of, you know, and that kind of coincides with my next Bolton training defensive tactics room. We've had a storage room back in the PD that has been just, you know, throw it in there and forget about it for so long. They came to me with an idea of making it a training room for exercise equipment and defensive tactics. And so over the past few months, they've gotten most of everything out of there. We're retrofitting that for a defensive tactics area, and there's lots of equipment back there. So that's going to coincide with our wellness program as well. So really looking forward to that project being done because it's been a long time coming. So,
Wellness morale.
yeah,
It's really.
yeah. And it's a new accreditation standard that just came on board anyways. You have to have a wellness program now. So, social media, you don't get it out within the first 30 minutes, they're gonna start making up what it's all about anyways. So we need to get it out quicker the better, especially when it comes to, you know, active shooter situations or traffic situations. I mean, on the last active shooter training or active shooter incident we had up at the high school, we had parents trying to sneak onto the campus and
Not try, did.
or did. And that it helped if we were out on Twitter saying, hey, this is where you need to go, meet up here, because at that point in time, we don't know who's who from what. And that just takes away from our resources to go deal with that, figure that out while we're trying to address the issue. So highly beneficial for us to get the word out there as early as possible so we can control the narrative and tell people the information that they need at that time. And last, online reporting, we're getting upgrades to Spillman. Spillman is capable of online reporting, so as soon as they get that updated appropriately, people are going to be able to go on the website and more comfortable with just typing it in or whatever like that and sending it to us. It doesn't go into vacuum and disappears. Those will be monitored by probably sergeant level. They're going to go through those and determine whether they require more investigation, whether it's just for information or refer to another agency or refer to the prosecutor. So looking forward to getting that out there as well, because a lot of people, they don't want us to show up or they don't want to talk to us. They prefer to do it this way. So I think that's be highly beneficial for us as well.
there's a lot of underreporting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, there is a lot of underreporting and, you know, I was talking to Joe about that last week about your neighbors and
Yeah, and they had
And-
interrupted Friday night, they had interrupted car prowl, and I'm like, did she call?
You're right.
Oh, we didn't even think of it. Didn't even think of it. I don't get it. I really don't. And so with this, I would love to be able to push MAISCOM to hurry this up and get this done.
Mhm.
Thought about it for 5 years, so,
Yep.
but this is huge, and this is another call for service that could be eliminated, that, that you could be out doing more proactive work. So yeah, whenever this lights up, I'd love to push hard, PR wise to get that out to the community, and again, just underreporting. Our statistics, they're good, but they're only as accurate as what we've got, right? So if there's, and we hear a lot about this, a lot of property crime anecdotes about, problems, and then when we come back and we ask for the data, we do that a lot. I had this incident happen in this bad moment, bad level of service that I got from the city. You go back and find out that this wasn't even a thing, or you call it in, or, their stories don't, so making things more convenient and easy for people to make these reports to demonstrate the actual crime stats that we actually are dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
And I'm assuming it'll also be available in Spanish.
Yes.
I'll back up 1 second. We're talking about the training and evidence storage back here. Evidence storage is an issue for the city of Shelton. We have vehicles and storage containers out at the wastewater treatment plant. We have vehicles down behind the dog shelter. We have boxes stacked in areas. It's not adequate. It doesn't meet standards. This is something we've talked about with the new shop and lay down yard and the ability to expand. The evidence storage is needed for the police department. So something we'll be talking about as we move through the year and meeting the needs of the police department at the same time, meeting needs of public works and other departments for storage.
Yeah.
Especially dry storage.
Yeah.
Storage, right?
In the interim, I mean, Sanderson Field's got a whole bunch of 10,000 square foot empty buildings.
Just gotta make sure it's secure.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Space.
we've, I'm as guilty as anybody, well, but a lot of the staff here have made do over time, right? We stuff in the corner, we stack it in the corner. We find somebody else to pick up some of the workload. At some point, as we've talked about, especially the supplemental budget process last year, at some point, there's a breaking point, there's a tipping point, and we start losing staff. We don't institute a wellness program. We don't have healthy staff that are showing up to work. We don't have the space needs in order to do our jobs, diminishing the level of service to our community. So those could be themes that we'll continue to talk about as we move this year, and we'll really focus the budget process as well into 2025. Now that we've made some difficult corrections moving into 2024, now we need to see how we can kind of climb back out of this strategically, make some improvements to the services we provide to our community.
Yeah, we'll be on tap in a couple of years for patrol cars again. And we fell way behind prior to that. We got caught up a few years ago. That was a lot to get caught up on that. And we didn't even buy new cars, we bought some new used cars. I would love to get us into the enterprise fleet. Whatever we can do, and if, again, because we're not in 2026, when those will be due, we're gonna be another,
$3 million initial investment though, that enterprise.
Yeah. But it's a huge recurring cost at a budget period when we'll have very little funds,
We
so.
we budgeted one vehicle at $80,000 for 2024.
That doesn't keep up with the cycle we need. We need at
Yeah.
least 2 vehicles per year, and then every third year it's 3 vehicles to kind of keep up with everything.
Well, maybe when we have our retreat, which we can probably bring up in a new discussion, we can talk about an extra police car this year. If we have a lot of that one-time money we gotta spend.
Well, yeah, we want to be strategic with that, right? And so maybe it's enterprise rather than addressing one
Yeah,
vehicle.
I
Maybe
mean-
it's addressing 10 vehicles, 12 vehicles, and being strategic.
Oh,
with
so that wasn't all or nothing, that enterprise. I thought it was all or nothing.
No, it could be,
Oh.
yeah, it could be manipulated
Okay.
and adjusted as we see fit, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, not citywide.
Not necessarily. You could implement different departments and different fleet portions of my fleet.
Yeah. Biggest thing for me on that, not to bring that all up again now, but the biggest thing for me on that was they demonstrated a significant return on investment after like 2 years.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
7 figures return on investment after 2 years of our fleet costs, something like that. It was ridiculous. So for me to spend the cash to get into that, And then the other thing that's gonna do is you're not gonna have 200,000 mile cars anymore. You're gonna have 65,000 mile cars. And talking about recruitment and retention, I know you guys like your shiny toys and stuff too, like, I get it. And so it's like, hey, that's a recruitment and retention tool. You know, if it's, you're not driving old crap from another department that's been retired. You're gonna get good equipment. You know, we might not be able to pay you the highest wage, we might not have the biggest signing bonus, but we're gonna train you and we're gonna give you good equipment, right? Like, that's something we can work on, I think, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I agree. It was great. I thought it was a great program, but was a lot of money
The
to,
initial investment.
To come up with.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
California.
third of our general fund budget, right? Maybe a little
I
more,
don't know, it's an entirety. We need to,
yeah.
I wasn't intimately involved at that point,
Yeah.
but we'll certainly bring that back.
No, I think the sheriff's office does that, right? They lease their fleet.
They do. I think it is through enterprise too.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, because that was the thing, it's
Yeah.
an economy of scale, so if we can
Exactly.
partner with
Yeah,
sheriff's office and. Like, I don't see why we couldn't. Same thing, I know Central Mason had a desire for like their man vehicles,
Uh-huh.
that kind of stuff, obviously not fire trucks, but. That kind of thing, they had talked to me about that a while ago. So again, the barrier to entry was high for us. It was just-
you'll see next week, you'll see another purchase of a vehicle that, it's combined storm fund, and it'll surplus an Escape, I forget how this Escape's 18 years old or something like that we got from Mason Transit when they surplused it.
Yeah.
That's our standard, and you talk about police vehicles, especially local jurisdictions that are surplusing police vehicles, and our officers we're purchasing them, putting our officers in it, and there's jurisdictions within Mason County, they're buying new vehicles. Yeah, that's Councilmember Schmidt said, I like something shiny, but
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
right,
when you're-
buy something, you,
and it functions, and we don't have an officer managing the broke down fleet.
double duty.
They should be on the
take care of
street,
that too, yeah.
providing police services, right? There's a lot of factors. Great. Anything else?
I think you guys are doing a great job, great presentation. I hope some of the public watches it. I like, the last, couple of years, actually, hearing all the compliments we get from the citizens about what a great job the police do and how they're, you know, they deal with the public, and we just got 2 emails in the last few weeks about our officers going above and beyond. Just taking money out of their own pocket sometimes to do something for somebody, and I really appreciate that. That's great.
I just wanted to thank Captain Patton for starting up again this program for the Citizens Academy. And that it's really important that every member of the community trusts the police force, and that we engage, and that will increase our participation with, you know, just communities that that haven't necessarily been open or compliant with the police, that we could have a better relationship so that there is more back and forth and a better opportunity to have public safety in the community. So thank you very much. And I hope if there's anyone out there who is fearful, I'll be there. So not that I'm going to help much, but just letting you know that, you know, we are role models in the community. And I think someone like me, especially, who's, you know, let's put the elephant in the room, is like, I'm the minority person on the council. We need to have more minority representation in the Citizens Academy. And I hope my participation is going to increase that. So.
Kind of echoing the same sentiments. Thank you. This is great. We haven't talked about it in a long time. It's first, I think, since I've actually been on the council that we've actually had a study session around public safety. So hopefully you feel supported today. I don't think any one of us had we all have positive things to say. So we're all big fans. We're all supportive. And at the same time, I'm not necessarily going to speak for everybody, but I don't think anybody here is telling you to not enforce laws or to do anything like that. We're here to support you. We want our community to be safe, just like you do. We were up against hard times. It's not always super easy. We recognize staffing challenges. I think we all want to come to the table to help you overcome those, however we can. So yeah, again, appreciate your time. I look forward to continuing to kind of talk through some of these challenges, especially like with state legislation. I'd love to learn more about the new pursuit bill, because we had kind of set a hook there that it could really hamper our abilities. And Mark and I were just up there talking with the Purdue Fit representatives last week, and those are always moments for us to kind of plug vote no on that, please moments, or vote yes on that, please, you know, so they're very good about supporting us and you guys as well. So yeah, I'm again thankful for the time.
Yeah, and if there's a bill that you're interested in us going online, we can support bills online individually. You know, just let us know.
Yeah.
Sometimes AWC asks us to do that, but you guys, if there's a bill that you want us to say no or yes on, definitely let us know. You know, even some of us like Joe Smart can go up there and probably testify up there. 2 minutes, actually.
Thank you, volunteer.
But, yeah. So, all right, anything else? All right, okay, does the council have a new item for discussion? City manager have any items? I was just gonna bring up that we needed to set up a month or a week or a day for a retreat to talk about budget stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I, in a weekly report, I asked about the retreat. I talked to city attorney today. We need to do some Open Public Meeting Acts training and some Public Records Act training. It might be a good time to kind of reaffirm strategic planning, city council strategic planning goals. I think that'll lead us into some development of some budget priorities, and then probably either a study session or budget retreat, maybe as we get towards, you know, spring, May timeframe. But I'd like to hear, you know, kind of availability, whether it's a weekend or evening or weekday that might be consistent, or as a council, we can have an attorney come down and perform some of that training, and we can just, you know, reaffirm some of the strategic goals that have been established prior to 3 new council members coming on board, and work towards, you know, affirming those or setting up something else to
Probably need a kind of a workshop around that.
Yeah, exactly right. I guess,
Fun process.
yeah, a little workshop. You know, I'm not planning on, excuse me, kind of a all-in strategic planning process, facilitated strategic planning process. I don't know if that's necessary at this point. I'd like to at least sit down and have some feedback. And then if we're really kind of deviating from the adopted, you know, goals at this point, then maybe that would warrant a more intensive effort. But if it looks like that, you know, we're trending in that direction, we can stick with what's been adopted previously or massage those to a certain extent, then, you know, then we can do that in a timely manner without a cost associated with it.
So would it be just like one day or?
Yeah, I'm, you know, 3-4 hours, something like that, half a day. Yeah, so that's what I said. It could be an evening, or it could be, like I said, it could be a Saturday morning, it could be an evening, pick a weekday. I know everybody's got varying schedules, so when you're trying to coordinate 7 people with an attorney and some staff at the same time, we've got a lot of balls in the air, if you will, but hopefully, you know, if you don't mind a weekend or if the evening, if you prefer one of those, I can start kind of throwing out some dates. I guess if I had weekday.
Mondays are easiest for me. Mondays are good. You think?
I'm flexible.
I'll make time.
I'm busy on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That Monday would be fine.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know if Gilmore's really busy right now at the session, but maybe in a little, okay, you can squeeze something out. Mornings, afternoons.
I even.
We're better before 5.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have a big coffee.
Perfect.
We get,
Tired.
I'll make
you're flexible, okay,
Okay,
well,
wow,
There you go.
all right,
there you
all
go.
right.
I'm just, June 15th, I'm flying off to Europe,
Okay,
so.
but before that.
So before June
You
15th, I'm
got
gone
it.
for,
We'll certainly set something up.
I'm gone for 10 days.
We're diving into budget by then.
Yeah.
Yes, so,
The other thing, Mark, that needs to be included in that is our legislative priorities and process and that.
Great, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we've told our representatives that we want to start early this year. For the long session next year, we want to develop legislative priorities. We want to move the needle. I think that, the ask of, the $1.8 million that's putting to work now on the Ingleside Reservoir is really important and a great amount of support for this community. We want efforts like that out of our delegation, out of the state, to move the needle, economic development in our community. We had some encouraging comments about some potential support for Simpson Trail, so we're looking forward to that. Of course, this is a short session, not a whole lot of money, especially on the transportation side available, but we have some deficiencies, particularly state-controlled intersection at Wallace and Olympic Highway North. We have a satellite wastewater treatment plant that could serve regionally as an economic development catalyst, if you will. We have a freight corridor of of a Wallace Water that has a number of intersections that don't function very well, particularly at peak hours. So there's some ability there, as among some other things regionally that we can work with some of our regional partners on too. So I think it's really important that, Councilmember Schmidt just brought up that we get ahead of that. We get ahead of that early, particularly if we build some partnerships in this community and get that 30-bit delegation.
Yeah, it's encouraging because they want to work with us. It's kind of got to work in their off season.
Exactly.
But they want to work with us. They see our potential because we've delivered and we've done a good job of delivering the projects that they've funded for us. So, now it's just Sheldon's in a tough spot economically. We keep trying to squeeze the same 4 folks for more cash and we need more people.
Yeah.
If we want to move the needle, right? Or be comfortable where we're at and run this really, really well and be good at 10,000 and 3,600 rooftops and do that really, really well. But I don't feel that in the community. So, we're just kind of a tough spot for.
We know where that goes, right? If you don't grow, you start diminishing services because you're not adding to your tax base. Whether it's insurance or healthcare costs or, salaries and wages. So you start diminishing the levels of service if you don't grow at some point. So let's make a concerted effort to grow correctly, build, economic development. So it brings jobs and living wage jobs to our community at the same time as appropriate housing for any individual, all demographics here at the same time. That means being strategic and being proactive.
Another joint.
We haven't set one up at this point. I think that's a great topic as well to discuss, and some priorities around that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Any other items for new discussion? Not